After reports of an alleged connection between the beleaguered Wirecard and Philippine banks were splashed in German newspapers, BPI and BDO Unibank were dragged into the scandal. Both immediately told government regulators that trust accounts linking them to the missing billions are all fabricated. We showed BPI Chief Executive Officer Cesar Consing a copy of a bank certificate obtained from the Securities and Exchange Commission. The certificate is under the name of Wirecard e-Money Philippines Treasurer in Trust, Andre Ria Buzeta, who deposited 100 million pesos with BPI in March 2017. Does this account still exist?
When you look at the certificate carefully, and I've asked our risk people to look at it, there are elements of this certificate that look fake. Let us suppose it were valid. If it were valid, and I'm not sure it is, but if it were valid, this is the kind of certificate that is typically issued by a bank when a foreign investor puts in a little bit of money into the Philippines when they are trying to incorporate a subsidiary company. When the SEC approves the incorporation of the company, what typically happens is this account, the account that is opened by an individual as treasurer in trust for the to-be incorporated company, all right? What typically happens is that account is closed and transferred to whichever entity or whichever bank the foreign investor wants to establish a relationship with. Wirecard AG does not have a relationship with this bank. I can say that categorically.
In the event that this paper is legitimate and there was a savings account, then, sir, that means that Wirecard at least was in the past a client.
I don't think that's what that paper is saying. If you read it carefully, in its current form, all that paper says is Mr. So-and-so is a client and is a treasurer in trust for XYZ company.
Typically, if the account is under a person's name, even if that document explicitly say that she opened the account for a company, how do you treat it? As an account for an individual or as an account for the company?
Assuming it were valid, it is an individual's account. And you know the process, right? When the local company gets incorporated, typically that account gets closed and transferred somewhere else.
Consing hammered home the point that Wirecard is not and never was a client of the bank.
Was Wirecard at least a client of the bank such that it dealt with the bank in terms of foreign exchange transactions or remittance service? So in that context, sir?
No.
Because my understanding, if it's like foreign exchange transactions, you know, it's just the client without an account can deal with the bank, and then the bank converts it into pesos, and then the dollars or the foreign currency that the bank holds, it will just sell it to the spot market, and then we forget about the client.
Yeah, but we don't have any records of Wirecard doing that with us.
SEC records show the 100 million peso deposit supposedly with BPI was earmarked for Wirecard e-Money Philippines capital. Wirecard Germany holds 99.99% of the shares. Buzeta also owned shares in the company back in 2017. But the 2019 SEC files show she had already divested. And so had the 4 other incorporators who were previously minority shareholders. The only stockholders left, parent Wirecard Germany, a Singaporean named Jeffrey Ho, another foreigner, and 3 Filipinos. John Marsalek's name does not appear in SEC records as a shareholder or officer of Wirecard e-Money. Lawyer Mark Tolentino is not on the list either. Tolentino's name surfaced after German media named him as a Wirecard trustee. Bangko Sentral Governor Ben Jokno said last week that the missing cash never entered the Philippine financial system, citing the statements of BPI and BDO Unibank. The Bangko Sentral is conducting its own investigation into the matter, as a law prohibits even regulators from looking into bank deposits. The missing $2 billion were too big to go undetected. If the existence of the money is fiction, why are so many actors, names, and bank accounts emerging, making this web of mystery even more complex? And if the bank certificate is fake, why would Wirecard e-money use it for incorporation? How did this slip right under the very nose of regulators? Lois Calderon, CNN Philippines.